Assalamu alaikum. Today we continue with the second state that we will cover in this book for the basic Arabic grammar. This state of nasb. The literal meaning of this word nasb is to erect or be vertical or stand something vertical. You say nasaba something. Nasaba, the house. Those tents, they call them a house or bait. And when they stand them erect, you can say they're nasab. So when you stand the poles for the tent, that's the word used, nasab. So this state is used in grammar, and it's indicated by these marks, these 5 marks. 5 علامات. So للنصب 5 علامات. We will cover the first of these today. So if we read this text now, وللنصب 5 علامات: الفتحة والألف والكسرة والياء وحذف النون. So we have الفتحة, and we discussed what that is. It's this short vowel, This is called fatha, opening, because that's how it sounds like when you open the mouth. It's So they call it fatha. And it indicates the state of this nasb here, and that's the name they give to it. So this fatha there is one of these 5. The alif, we learned with the alif, this here. Al-kasra, this short vowel, this e. At the end of a word, you will see this kasra, e here. Al-ya, this ya here, or in the middle of the word, it will look like a tooth here and 2 dots underneath it. وحذف النون, and the omission of the an, this letter an. When you see it, it indicates a state of rafa' or being raised. And if it's omitted, that's also a mark. So these are the 5. فأما الفتحة فتكون علامة للنصب. So this fatha is a mark for the state of nasb in 3 places. في 3 مواضع. في الاسم المفرد. الاسم المفرد, the singular or the single noun, we covered what that is. وجمع التكسير, the broken plural, we talked about this before. والفعل المضارع, the present tense, إذا دخل عليه ناصب ولم يتصل بآخره شيء. If one of the tools or the reasons that cause this present tense verb to take this short vowel or go into this state, you will see this fatha at the end of it. Of course, there's more details about this. When something else attached to the end of the present tense, it does not accept any changes. We will cover this later. But now, when it's in that state, the fatha, this here, is a mark for that state, indicate the state in which this present tense verb is in. So if we look at examples of these having this fatha, we can look at this. Here is the 12th lesson or 12th lesson, الدرس الثاني عشر, 12th lesson in the grammar book for elementary school. So we'll use this today as for examples. إعراب الفعل المضارع. إعراب is the word grammarians use to indicate the changes at the end of the words that accept changes at their endings. So this is what they call إعراب. So when you see the word إعراب, it means what's changing at the end of the word. إعراب الفعل المضارع. The إعراب of the فعل is verb. مضارع, you should understand this as the present. The word itself has different ways of explaining, so we will not go into this for now. But that's what they mean by مضارع. It's used for the present tense. Now, here we have a word, present tense verb, and it has these different states. So the past tense of كتب, كتب, this كتب, كتب. So this 3-letter root, that's the past tense. So it has these short vowels at each letter. Ka, ta, ba. You see, these are the vowels that tell us how to pronounce each one of these letters. The past tense verbs, all of them, they do not go under this i'rab. They always have a fixed movement at the end. So they will always have this fatha here, kataba. So you will not study those changes. We will learn about how they change sometimes, but even when they change, it's fixed movement. So kataba, that's how it's pronounced and written in the past. This is the past tense for write. He wrote, kataba. Now, if we add one of the present tense letters, we covered that in a previous lesson, there are some changes that happened to this kataba. This ya here was added for the third person, ya, present tense. This becomes silent, yak. You see, this became silent, yak. And this we took this u here. We covered briefly the changes that the present past tense goes under when it's turned into a present tense. So I'll just touch on that briefly now. So here, yaktub. This is how this verb, katab, changes when it's in the present. So yaktub. Notice this is what we studied so far, that the dhamma here indicates the state of this verb. It's in the state it's raised. This, when you describe this verb here, the present tense, you say it's marfu'. It is in the state of being raised. That's how you describe it, because of this dhamma. So you pronounce this as yaktubu. Yaktubu. Now, notice what happened here. Lan yaktuba. You see what happened? Lan yaktuba. Lan yaktuba. All that happened because of this lan here. There are some meaning letters. This lan here means will not. Lan. Will not. So you understand it as this one letter word here. This what it means, will not. Lan yaktuba. He will not write. Notice here, that's how the Arab used to change the vowels at the end when they use this lan with it. There are other letters that cause this. We will cover that in a separate lesson. But for now, when you see a present tense verb with this a at the end of it, just look before it what's there. You will see this or another meaning letter that caused this to happen. So you will see it in a text. If you analyze a text, you will see a present tense with this movement at the end. When this is before it, this lan here, will not write. So notice the difference between this one here and this one. Lan yaktuba. So if I say yaktubu tilmidhu darsa, the student is writing the lesson, I say yaktubu at-tilmidhu ad-darsa. Here, if I say he will not write it, lan yaktuba at-tilmidhu ad-darsa. Lan yaktuba. Notice here this a. This here is another state we will cover later. Notice it becomes silent, and there are reasons for it. So we will train to recognize these. So this is how you will see a present tense verb. Of course, this one has no vowels at the end of it. So we will cover how this affects these changes. But for now, all these consonants, no vowels in these verbs, and notice how it changes. We will cover this later, this silence. So I would pronounce this as lam yaktub, as if I stop at. If I stop at any of these, I will pronounce it like this, lam yaktub. But here, even if you're continuing after it, that's how you pronounce it. This effect comes from this lam, did not. Lam here means did not write. Lam, did not. So lam yaktub, he did not write. لم يكتب. So no u, no a. This will cover later, but now this is the lesson we're talking about. You see, one of the tools, or that's how what ada mean, adawat means tools. One of these tools, which is this meaning letter here, that means will not, affected this present tense and caused it to have this a there. Now, this will also happen with nouns. So here, إعراب الأسماء. These are the plural for nouns. This will happen with it. So the text we just discussed or just read said the singular noun وجمع التكسير, the broken plural, and the present tense. We talked about the present tense. Now the broken plural and the singular noun. So here, إعراب الأسماء, this is the 19th lesson in the grammar book for elementary schools. So 19 19. Here they give examples for how the nouns change their ends. So أكرم المعلم التلميذ بجائزة. أكرم is the past tense to honor. So أكرم. المعلم is the teacher. Notice here this is the singular for teacher. المعلم, the teacher. Notice the dhamma here, because it's in that this is one of the states that cause the noun to take this dhamma, because it's the subject of the verb. He's the doer of this verb. أكرم, he honored. So it took this u. Now notice the object of this verb, التلميذ. Notice this movement, This is what we are covering. We will go over this again, but I'm just giving you an example here. So this is a singular noun, التلميذ, and it has this movement there. So the text we studied says the singular noun, the broken plural, and the present tense. So this is an example of the singular noun having this at the end. Now here notice أكرم التلميذ المعلم. The student honored, أكرم honored التلميذ. Notice it took this u there now because it's a subject here. أكرم التلميذ المعلمة. You see the معلم here it took this u, and here it took this a, because now the معلم, the teacher, is the object of this verb of honoring. So here the student honored the teacher, so this u here, you see أكرم التلميذ المعلمة. Here the student is the object, the teacher is the subject or the doer. So here we call this in Arabic المفعول به, the one that was acted on, or the act was done to. So this is the actor, المعلم, this is the one who received the act, and it's called مفعول. به. So it was done to him. So this act of honoring, he was the one was honored by this teacher. But notice these movements here, they indicate who's the subject and who's the object. We will discuss this later, but this is to indicate how these movements give you a clue about what you are looking at. Now, if I take this noun, تلميذ, and we discussed the broken plural, so I will make this التلاميذ. So التلاميذ. So if I wanted to say that the teacher honored the students, not just one student, I would say التلاميذ. I will just put that there. This is broken plural, because التلميذ here, notice this singular noun changed when we made it into the plural. So we added this a in the middle here. This a was added there after the l, so it became التلاميذ. So that's why they call it broken plural. So Now this here, if I made it into التلاميذ, I would add this. And we learned before for the state of being raised, this dhamma, this would be O. If this was in here, that the students honored their teacher. So now you have an idea about these marks and how they indicate the different states. So for today, we discussed this fatha, this here. So this is in a singular noun. If I make it broken plural, it looks like this. And we discussed the present tense yaktub and what caused it to have it. So we have this here. So for today, just learn what this mark is and how it indicates the changes. We will go into these rules later. So don't worry about doing this, but this is just an idea about what we will study later. So thank you for listening. Next time, inshallah, we continue with the rest of the marks, this alif, kasra, ya, and hadf al-noon. Now, you notice we know what these are, so I don't have to spend more time on explaining what these are because we already discussed this. So if you just want to double check on this, you can go back to these videos that discuss these. Thank you for listening. See you next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.